So it is the next day. It is Saturday. We have 2 more days to get this car perfect to drive. 70 miles, actually more like 140 miles every single day. Yesterday, we got a lot of stuff done. You saw we did the window seals and the trunk seal and the window bushings, the ignition switch, a bunch of stuff, dash. We worked on the brakes yesterday because that was the biggest thing. And like I had said, I was worried that it was the booster. Well, turns out it wasn't the booster. The booster is slowly dying, but it is perfectly fine. The master cylinder, however, was where we had troubles. I jacked the car up, took the wheel off, and had my dad step on the brakes and crack the bleeder screw. Nothing was coming out. We did get fluid coming out, but when he stepped on the brakes, there was no fluid coming out. Piston wasn't moving, nothing. So as it turns out, the master cylinder was seized. And these cars do have a special master cylinder that is aluminum, and I'll show you it. So these cars do have a special aluminum master brake cylinder. They have a 5/8 fitting on the back and a 7/16 on the front, and they have a slightly different ratio for front and rear brakes since they are for discs, since the SVO and the Cobra were the only Fox bodies that had front and rear discs from factory. So turns out what had happened was the seal, or the spring and coupler piston, whatever it's called, the spring and piston inside the master cylinder for the front brakes was completely seized up. And the rear one was the only one that was actually pushing any pressure. Now, I took the master cylinder apart and cleaned it really well, and then I took the pistons out. There's a snap ring on the back side that comes out, and then the 2 pistons come out for the front and rears. And they basically exploded out, which we were surprised because the assumption was there would be rust that was holding it in or something. Turns out it was just sludge. And when I cleaned out, or when I drained out the master cylinder before I even took the pistons out, there was a ton of sludge in the front master cylinder, and I'll show you a picture of that right now. There was a ton of sludge, only in the fronts. In the rears, it was dirty, there was debris, blah, 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 but it wasn't sludgy. So once we took the pistons out, you could see the amounts of sludge coming out and literal hard chunks of debris that were coming out in the springs that had solidified inside there. So it literally just was not pushing, as well as the orifice that the fluid goes through to push for the brakes was completely blocked up. So I completely cleaned it. We got it fully cleaned, which took a while. It took about 4 hours in total to take it off. No, it didn't. It took about 2 hours total to take the entire thing off, clean it, make sure every single port was completely clean, and then bench bleed it. And now it is back on the car. It is fully bench bled, and the only thing left that we have to do is bleed the rest of the brakes. So that's what I'm going to do right now. We're going to jack the car up and do each wheel, starting at the passenger left, or I guess the passenger rear. Not left, of course it's not even left, it doesn't matter. At the passenger rear, and then the driver's rear, and then the passenger front, and then driver front, and we will bleed all the brakes, and then we will go take it for a test drive and just see if we can make sure that that was the issue. So I may have gotten really lucky because we had believed that the master cylinder itself might not even be usable because it might have been rusted up and seized, and the cylinder might have been bad. Turns out it was just sludgy and nasty from sitting and whatever. So we're going to try to bleed them this morning. Once we get that done, hopefully there's no major complications, and then I can move on to the next thing. Because after that is done, we have fixed the 3 biggest problems with this car. The rag joint for the steering, the ignition switch, and the brakes. The only thing left that would make this a perfectly usable daily car is locks. I do have the set of locks that came out of this car, but I have a small problem of I can't find the key that went to it. So the actual set of keys for this car are somewhere in a box of stuff somewhere inside my house or inside a shed or something, just to put keys in. So I'm going to try to solve that key problem hopefully today so that I can move on and finish the door panels. Also today, I really don't want to, and I've been putting it off, but I need to do the headliner, or at least start on the headliner, because once that's done, I can put the headliner up, the car will be a lot cooler because of the insulation, because I'm putting an extra pad of jute insulation as well as the kill mat. So I need to do the headliner, and then I also need to take out the factory radio that I put in that doesn't work, send that off to go get fixed by Mr. Todd Lane. If you don't know him and you have a stock Fox body radio, he is the guru to replace and fix it. He has all the parts. It's actually pretty affordable, and if you have your radio, it's cheaper to send it to him than it is to buy a new radio, by quite a bit. So that's gonna get sent off, and in the meantime, I'm gonna put a little cheap Bluetooth Amazon unit. It was like 36 bucks. It's a Jensen, I'll show it to you. But we will get to that when we get to that. For now, we're gonna bleed the brakes. Oh, also, forgot to mention, I got the cowl panel on, because I forgot. This took a little bit longer last night because I wanted to paint these and let them dry. I got the new cowl panel on. It looks great. Totally fits well and looks really nice and does make the car contrast a little bit. And I painted these guys, which totally were not fully dry and then got sprinkler sprayed on them, so there's water spots in the paint now. They could probably buff out because they were mostly dry, but I did not paint them with the trim paint that you can get at LMR or anything like that, the SEM trim paint. I just painted them with black Rust-Oleum because I just wanted to clean them up a little bit. They were fading really bad on the tops. So I painted them. They look pretty good. They're a little bit shiny, but who cares? They're black, and it totally helps set off the car. I still have to finish wet sanding the entire car. I've put it off in the past 3 days because I wanted to fix the steering and the brakes first. But hopefully today or tomorrow, we're gonna focus on finishing wet sanding and then buffing the entire car, and then also painting the wing, where one of the parts is over there, the other one's in the car still. So just wanted to point that cowl panel out. So I actually have a few minutes of time to kill before I can bleed the brakes. So in the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and start work on this headliner. Now, clearly I am using the original headliner base and I'm going to recover it. This is one option you can go if you have a really nice headliner. Obviously mine's not super nice, but I also don't want to buy, there's a spider web in my hand, oh my gosh. I don't want to buy a ABS one because I have this one and the ABS one's kind of expensive and I want to make this work. I do have a little bit of damage in the corner here that I'll have to fix when I get to it. I don't know if you can see that. This little corner piece broke off right by the visors. And as you can see, it's not in the greatest shape, but the foam is deteriorating and the material is literally just ripping apart. So we're going to save the actual headliner itself. We're going to start by ripping off the old headliner material. Oh, and apparently it's broken right here too. I'm going to have to fix all these little spots. And so you just want to pull off, if you're going to do this, you just pull off the old material to start with, and oh boy, there we go, already starting to take this corner off. This corner may not survive. I might have to cut a new piece and tape it on. So we're just going to take off all the material that's here, that's left. Some of it, it's funny how the headliner starts going, but in certain spots it stays fully attached. Like in the visors, there's a whole section where it's clear that the visors were keeping it pressed in and the glue didn't deteriorate. But now we take our old material and we throw it away. Let's do that. Now, from what I've seen online, there's a few different ways to do this, but I'm going to do it the way that I saw one YouTuber repair his entire headliner. I don't know if he actually ended up using a replacement LMR style headliner or if he just put foam and covered it. I don't remember entirely, and I'm sorry I can't remember the name of that YouTuber right this second. But this is the way he did it. He took a drill with a wire wheel and went across carefully on all the cardboard to get all the old foam off, because you want to get all the old foam off because the new headliner material has foam already. It's foam backed. So we're just going to go ahead and take this brush and try to carefully get rid of all the foam, which it takes it off very quickly. Yeah. As you can see, that worked really well and really fast. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that to the entire headliner, and then we'll get it cleaned, prepped, and we'll spray on the new headliner material. So I've got the whole thing wire wheeled, and obviously you can see a lot of these little holes that have foam still in them. Honestly, that's okay. I got most of it off, and those are breathing holes that just are really deep and foam won't go out of. But it doesn't really matter because 99% of it is off, and there's just a little bit left, and that's okay because whatever's left is still stuck on there very well. And so we're just going to spray right on top of it and lay our material right over. I have the material here, and we pull it out. As you can see, this is stock style material. There's nothing special. We'll pull the whole thing out. Don't want to get it dirty, but get that out of there. It is completely stock style material. So we're going to lay it out on here and make sure we get somewhat the right dimensions. I'm not going to start cutting it until it is glued on because I want to get it glued on first. Oh man, there's a lot of material here. I may actually have to cut excess because there's so much. So we'll fold this back and we'll spray along the front edge. Just pull this off the table. Okay. Now you want to make sure you get a pretty good coat on there. And this stuff lays on very interesting. This 3M Super 77. And we'll spray. Oh, definitely not mean to do that. Oh, okay. Make sure you don't actually spray the headliner. I guess we'll pull it back all the way. Probably should have thought of that. Okay, I think it is about good. So we'll take this and we will lay it down. Start in the center there. Actually, I only need to spray it grease. So we're going to spray the whole thing. Alright, I got it laid on here with some help from my brother. I'm really angry about that, and I'm probably going to get it dirty by doing this. But, as you can see, it's laid on. I did it as best as I could. Honestly, it's not going to be perfect. Oh well. It's going to be just as good as it needs to be. Better than it was. It won't be hanging in my face. And it'll still look nice, but this was definitely interesting for the first time. And we'll go ahead and find, there's 2 holes we have to find. Those 2, plus those 2, plus those 2. Like I said, these 2 spots I'm a little wary of because they've creased themselves already and I haven't even done anything. When it laid on they were flat and now they're creased, so hopefully it smooths out in the car. But overall, minus this one slightly white squeaky streak of spray adhesive, which will dry and it'll probably stay white forever, but it's alright, it's not that noticeable. This looks pretty good overall. I'm actually surprisingly very happy with it. It's better than what came out of the car. So let's try to get it in the car. So it took a little bit of finagling. I didn't get it on camera, but the headliner is in. Obviously there are some fingerprint spots from holding it up. Those will relax themselves. I've got the grab handle and the front trim piece and visors, which do not look great, but doesn't matter. They're there. They work as visors until I can replace them. I do have some push pins in the back just to hold the back up temporarily because I cannot put on the back panel just yet until I get the interior pieces in. And I can't put the interior quarter panels in until this sail panel is fully in. And I can't put this sail panel fully in. And so it's kind of a whole series of events, but it's in and it looks much nicer. And I did put 2 pieces of jute padding on each side of the dome light, so it has even more heat and sound resistance and should soak up some more sound and heat, so that's nice. And it looks pretty good, and like I said, it'll relax, and it is totally stock style material, so it looks pretty good to me. Looks better than it did, and now it's not all shiny kill matte and metal. So that's done. Now it's time to actually bleed the brakes. So it is quite a bit later, probably 2 or 3 hours worth, but the brakes are finally done. I couldn't just bleed them. It turns out that the junction block right underneath the master cylinder also had a blockage and it was directly blocked. So I took it out and I cleaned it out, and it turns out the front brakes also had just a serious blockage. And I mean it was serious. I had to take a pick and get out all the debris and crap that was inside the junction block. So now it's clean. I put it back on. We bled all the brakes. I just took it for a test drive. And I have brakes now. They are a little spongy, but that might just be the way these feel. They seem to be a little bit soft, but to be honest, I've never driven an 80s car, so I have almost no reference for what it should feel like. They do work, and they do stop pretty well, so I can't complain about them. But we are now rearing into the final parts of getting this somewhat back together. If you look at my list here, I have all this stuff marked off. I still have to do the sail panel, which I might do tonight. I might actually do it right now because it's not that hard. And once that's done, the interior plastic trim can actually go back into place. So I might do that. I still need keys for my locks. I have the locks and I need to put them in, but I need keys first. That might happen tomorrow or the next day, hopefully tomorrow. I still have to do the vapor barrier for the doors and then the door panels as well, which also get a sound deadening piece, but that obviously cannot be done until the keys and locks is done. So all 3 of those things will be at basically the same time. I still want to take the radio out and put the other radio in, so I might take that out right now because all it is 2 bolts, and then disconnect some wiring and then try to rip it out without breaking anything. It's a little hard to take out. Trunk panel is all of the trunk plastic pieces. Can't really put those in until I finish painting and attaching the wing, which I also have to fix. So, total accidental, but really good news. I got the radio out, as you can see over there. It was a nightmare, of course it was. And like I said, I was gonna start work on the wing that's sitting over there, but my dad, in the meantime, was taking a look and found a bunch of the keys that he was looking for when we were looking for keys for the car. Because we spent, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours 2 days ago looking for the keys to the locks so that I could put the locks in. Because I can't put the door panels in until I had the keys. And just by chance, he pulled out his bag of Ford keys, which he has, you know, 1,000 of. And it just so happened that this key was like number 6. And I don't know if you can, I don't know if I can even do this. But this key was the 6th one he tried, or 7th one, and it works. I cannot believe I found the key to this car. Now this is not the actual key, this is one that he made many years ago, but it works, which means I can put the locks in, which is what I'm gonna do right now. I'm gonna put the locks in, and then I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to start the door panels or not, because once I have the locks in, I can put the vapor barriers on, and then I have a piece of trim to put on the door panel, and then the door panels can go in. So we'll see, but let's put these locks in. So I am out here working on these door panels now that I have all the locks in. I am sweating like a crazy man, and so far I have the foam on the door panels, the new sound deadening foam. As you can see, these doors had a jute padding. I did throw them away. I wish I kept it so I could double layer. It's okay. I've got the foam. As you can see, it's for a later Mustang 87 to 93, but that's okay because it works fine. I just got to cut out the 2 holes here and here. So what was it? Here and there. So I just got to cut those out, and then that's that. Oh, I believe there's one more. Oh, maybe not. Thought there was one more. Maybe not. Anyways, right now I got to put on the trim pieces. Now, I took the old ones off, which was the biggest fight of my life. It was horrible, and I never want to do it again. But we are going to put these new ones on. I was going to screw them on, but I actually don't have the the screws with me, so we're gonna rivet them on because I have rivets. Okay, there's one. Blow that off. See if I can shove that in there because it's barely gonna fit. Push this down. All right. Break it off. It's nice and mushroomed in there. Cool. So that is that. So welcome back. For you it's only been a second, but for me it has been an entire day. And oh, I forgot, I have keys now and locks, so I have to unlock this to get in it. Whoop-de frickin' do. Look at that. So it's been a day. Last I saw you, I had done the brakes and I had put the backing on the door panels, and I said I was going to do the vapor barrier, which there's one sitting right there. Well, I couldn't finish the vapor barrier last night, but I finished it a little bit earlier today and did the vapor barrier and then put the door panel on. And as you can see, I've put everything back on the door panel, including the handle, the window switches, and the door pocket switch, and review mirror, including the little rubber button that is really hard to come by and you cannot buy. And now this side is done. This driver's side door panel is now done, and it is so much quieter, especially when you're in the car. It's got a nice close to it, and there's no sound coming from the doors anymore. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up that side, and I'll show you what the vapor barrier looks like on the panel once I have it on there. I'm using this clear, let me get this out of here, this clear tape stuff. It's like a gel, almost like butyl tape, but it's clear, and it's okay. Honestly, butyl tape probably works just as fine, but it is super sticky, so the curled up, really stiff vapor barrier actually fits or works well with these. The goal for right now, I just want to get this vapor barrier on because it did take me a while for the other side. Hopefully this side goes by faster, and then hopefully put the door panel on, which also took me quite a bit of effort. And once I do that, I'll put the door panel on, I'll put every piece back on. Then I'm gonna put the dash back together. I took out a few bolts to take the radio in and out. I gotta put all those back. And then I have to put the glove box back, and I wanna put the center console back because right now it's sitting on the ground over there. And I am gonna be putting a radio in, but I don't need to have the center console out to do it. So I'm gonna put the center console back, so that's done. So goal right now, door panel, center console, dash, vapor barrier. So it took a lot longer than I wanted to, and you can't even see, but this door panel is now done. So we're done with it. Let's move on. Probably will stop for tonight, but I'll see you tomorrow. So I wired up the stock radio last night, and at first I didn't get it to work because I had my amplifier plugged in and I did not have a power wire running to the amplifier, so I had nothing. So I unplugged it and went directly into the speakers, bypassing the amp, and then it worked. And it wasn't great. I definitely have to replace this right speaker and probably this one as well, but that one is for sure cracked and horrible. So I just did some research because I was going to figure out a way to connect the amplifier so that I could use it, but apparently it seems like the stock premium sound amplifier will not work with any aftermarket radio. I was about to solder the wire and I had a moment of, I should check this first, and so I did. And so you apparently cannot use, most of the time, you can't use the stock amplifier with anything but the stock radio. So I'm just gonna bypass it entirely for now because I know it works without it, and I will just plug it in like it was. Before I plug it all in though, I am going to put the center dash back and put all of the rest of the dash back together. It's got a few bolts that I have to tighten up, and then a bunch of screws, and then this guy, and then the center console goes in, and then I will put the radio in, and then I'll have a radio. And then In a few days, I'm getting the new speakers, and I'll put those in, and they'll sound much better, because right now, they do sound horrible. But let's put the dash back together and put the center dash back in. All right, so the dash is back together. Everything is bolted up. Definitely got a few scuffs in the radio now, but we have a radio in. Is it perfect? No. Does it work? Yes, it completely works. And everything is back together, and it's a little bit cleaner in here, although I gotta take a vacuum and really clean it. But it's back to normal. I have a center console now. So that's taken care of. Now, the next things that I wanna work on, which as you can see, I do have speakers back there, but I'd like to put all these interior panels back in. I can't until I put that sail panel on and the spats that go on each side. The spats sit right in front of the back wheel, and those are the last holes in the body besides where the trunk is for the spoiler. I'm gonna do this sail panel pretty soon here. I have to get some nuts though, so until I can get nuts, it's gonna wait. But I don't even know what I'm talking about at this point. Anyways, so now I have a working radio. Cool. So, I'm noticing a little bit of a trend here. It is now probably about 4 or 5 weeks since I recorded that last section. Might be 3, I can't remember honestly. I'm really bad at doing the outros for these apparently, and I don't actually finish the video. So, we're finishing it now. Like I said, it's 4.5, 5 weeks later. I did finish in those 4 days. It got completely finished, well, completely. It was running and driving, and it is running and driving, and I've been driving it to school, and it has been extremely reliable. I've had not a single problem from it, and I've been driving 140 miles a day every single day. As you can tell, actually it's a little dirty right now, but it is shiny. I did not get to buffing it in that video. I ended up driving it for about a week before I could actually buff it, but it now looks nice, and you will see the clear coat getting fixed and the paint getting fixed, as well as the wing getting fixed. So there's a little sneak peek of it on there in later videos. But I fixed it in the 4 days. I got it running and driving, and now it's my daily driver, and I've had no problems with it so far. So I guess that's gonna do it for this video. I think I just got to get better at recording intros and outros a little more. So anyways, that'll do it for this video. We'll catch you next time on the SVO build. We are rearing the end of it, so we'll see you next time. Have a good day. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Peace.